So it is the middle of summer. And, for anyone who's not from Canada, we get such short summers up here, like at best, maybe 4 months of really good weather. The rest of the time is like either winter or transitioning into winter or exiting winter. Like life kind of revolves around winter up here. So when summer happens, us Canadians are like, we gotta like take advantage of, we can't miss out on anything. And so this summer, I've been reflecting on things a little differently. Um, because I am, building a business and it's kind of my first summer of like, things are rolling. There's always going to be more to do, but there's things are rolling pretty consistently, which is great. And I have this incredible boyfriend and partner. And so, one thing that's great about my partner is he brings me to the present moment. Like he reminds me what's important in sometimes it's through words, but also just through his actions and his presence. And he just when I get into my typical type A spiral of I feel like I'm not doing enough or I don't want to fall behind or I set these like targets that no one cares about or even knows about except me, he really brings me to the present moment. And so, full vulnerability, we're in the middle of summer here and he loves to camp and be outside and explore in nature, and he has this great van he's remodeled into like kind of like a camper van. And he was like, let's take a road trip this weekend, let's go away for a few days. And the old me and what still initially popped up was like, well, have I done enough work? Have I done enough work to like go take off a couple of days? And so I went through that process logically, but then I was also like, I live in Alberta, Canada, and summers are so short. Like, why am I even contemplating this? Like, I've fortunately built a life where I control my own schedule and I can work from anywhere. So if I have clients or certain meetings, as long as I got Wi-Fi, I can pretty much do it from anywhere. And the whole point of creating this life was to have that freedom. But then why, when he asked me, the first thing I think is like, have I done enough work to be able to do this? Like, you know, there's still this thought process of you have to earn your joy. Okay. And this is something I work on with my clients all the time and help coach them through. Like that concept is so ridiculous when you think about it, but I'm still human. I have it at times. I just don't have to negotiate with myself as much. But like earning your joy, like what? It's crazy when you think about it. It's such a slave mentality. It's such a like you have to earn the right to be happy. And it's just so backwards. And no wonder as humans we make things so difficult for ourselves. But that moment made me reflect on how much of my life I've missed out on because of stress and like a lot of self-induced stress, by the way. Like have I had like some like a pretty demanding career and things on my plate at times? Yeah, but the stress that got me to the point of being burnt out and so exhausted that I didn't have the capacity to like do a lot of things that with the people I love over the past 10 plus years. Like stress has made me miss out on so many important moments. And another thing that had brought this up was I went to one of my childhood friends. Her husband unfortunately passed away suddenly about a month or two ago. It was really sad. They have three kids. And as soon as I heard about it, I decided to go to the funeral, which was back home in my hometown. And I saw a lot of my high school and elementary school friends. Some of them I haven't seen in 16, 17, 18 years. And the one nice thing about being from a small town is you kind of always have that fondness of everyone, like because we grew up with each other and a lot of us still know each other's parents. And like there's that's one great thing about growing up in a small town is like you have this camaraderie and this community feeling, even if you haven't seen each other in years. And so me and a bunch of my girlfriends got this picture. My mom was like, you need to take a picture. I haven't seen all of them in so long. And my mom wanted to be in the picture, of course, too. So we took this picture. And after I realized how many things I missed out on. I missed out on a few of their weddings. I missed out on some of their family members passing and funerals. And like, there's really no excuse for me missing out on them. But if I look back on the state I was in, I just didn't have the capacity. My career was the number one thing to me. I was hustling, I was working hard. And so, like, I didn't have the capacity to think about anything outside of that. Now, are there trade offs for that? Yeah. Like, I just did an episode a little while ago about the fact that, like, you can't do it all. So, can I build this incredible career, live in a place that's 2 hours from most of these people? Like, we didn't live in the same place, and then still be able to show up for everything? Like, no, that's not realistic, right? Like, it really isn't. Could I have showed up for some of that stuff? Possibly, if I would have been able to manage my stress better. Like, yeah, I really do think so. You know what I mean? And maybe not everything for everybody, but I could have showed up for more of those. Um, Now, again, priorities. At my time, that was the priority. But I look back on it, and even just something as simple as like dance. Okay. Like, I've been a dancer since I was 8 years old. I was, professional for my early 20s. And aside from doing it for a living and being competitive, like, it's just something that brings me joy. So much joy. It's great for my body. It gets me active. It gets me moving. The music blasting. I get to do it with a lot people that I love. Like, dance brings me so much joy. But as I got heavier and heavier into my last career, like, it'd be like a whole year went by and I maybe danced once. When I used to dance, like as a kid, I was dancing 4 hours a day. In my 20s, I was dancing probably on average 2 hours a day, and then like 3 to 4 hours on the weekends. Like, it is an everyday thing for me. And to get to a point where I did it once a year for a couple hours, like, what? And when I zoom out now and think about it, now I have the capacity, right? I dealt with my burnout. I learned how to handle and manage my stress better. I'm building a business now. Like, it's honestly, I work probably more now than I did when I had my career, but I handle it so much better that I don't make excuses for missing these things anymore, where I do my best not to anyways. Like, I know you can't be everywhere for everybody, but even something as simple as dance, like, dance is back in my life as something I want to do in the capacity that I can do it in now. But it just made me think about that. Like, there are a lot of things that brought me joy and people that I love that I just missed out on because I wasn't managing my stress properly. I can't even blame it on my job. Like, I can't. I just can blame it on my capacity and the fact that, you know, I I could have done better with how I handled my stress, knowing what I know now. Of course, hindsight's 2020. I didn't know these things before. But if I would have been better at that, I would have been able to have the capacity to do that. And so, I'm not saying this to like shame you if that's what you're doing right now, or tell you that you need to change things. I'm just talking from my experience, and hopefully, because I'm saying this out loud, it will help you. But like, do you really want to be missing out on so many important things purely because of stress? Right. And again, I want to say it's because of stress, not necessarily because of your job, because what drains us so much is 9 times out of 10, it's not because of the tasks. It's not because of our to do list that we're so exhausted and burnt out. It's because of the mental capacity that we're expending as this goes on, right? Over preparing for meetings, worrying about things, being on all the time. You know what I mean? Being a perfectionist, being a control freak. These are tabs we keep open all freaking day long. And so at the end of your 8 hour workday or 10-hour workday, even, it's the task that only needed 20% of your energy took 70, 80% of your energy because of all those tabs being open. Right? It's not actually the work itself. It was those tabs that were open that were draining me so much that I couldn't even go do things that I love to do and that would bring me joy and that would actually refuel me. Right? So my point is when you get better at closing those tabs and realizing you can still do an excellent job and still have huge ambition and big goals and accomplish things and be productive, without those tabs being open all the time, you start to get back part of your life. You start to get back more joy and having more fun and having better relationships because you're able to show up for people, right? And again, it might be a season of it. Some seasons you might want to grind it out more, and some seasons you might want to be more present. And I'm not here to tell you which season you need to be in, but I am telling you that there's a better way. Like, you don't have to miss out on all these things. You don't have to sacrifice your joy and fun and happiness in the pursuit of quote unquote success, whatever that looks like to you, right? Because there is so much evidence that the quality of someone's life is not determined by the money they have. It's determined by their relationships. If you have all the money in the world, but you have no relationships of substance, of depth, of real love, you're miserable. And then there's people who live in huts in other side of the world and they have no money, but they have incredible community and they still find joy and they're happier, right? And at the same token, maybe happiness isn't important to you. I don't really buy it. Sorry, unless you're one of these freaking natures who like wants to just build massive businesses and make all this money and like, okay, cool. But I don't buy that either. I think those people have just fooled themselves into believing that like that's the only thing that's going to bring them purpose. And honestly, we need people like that, I guess, on planet Earth as well too. I don't know, but if I'm like deep going into a deeper like the majority of people aren't wired that way. The majority of people don't need to make billions of dollars and build billion-dollar companies. Most people don't. Most people want to make a good living so that they have some freedom to travel and do the things that they want and have some time freedom. They want a loving family and they want to be healthy. That's like 99% of people. Okay. So if you feel like that's out of whack, if you feel like you're having to sacrifice one so much for the other, it doesn't have to be that way. I'm telling you now. You just need to get better at managing your stress. And it's not through discipline or willpower. It's a rewiring. It's a different understanding. It's teaching your body a different strategy of dealing with stress, of managing stress, and then dumping that stress so it doesn't so it doesn't stay in your body and live there and eat up all your precious time and energy. Right. And if you're not sure where to start, basics, you need to learn how to regulate your nervous system. And I know I talk about this every damn episode, and you guys are probably sick of me saying it, but I'm telling you, with every fiber in my body, when I started to learn to regulate my nervous system, that was the foundation for my life to be where it's at today, to be the life that I prayed for years ago, to be the life that's been the most free and loving life that I've ever lived. That's all because I learned how to regulate my nervous system and build from there. And if you're not sure, I did an episode on it a little while back called How to Regulate Your Nervous System. That'll give you the basics. But that will teach you how to process stress way healthier. That'll teach you how to let go of stress a lot faster. So that now you have the capacity to get back to those things that you love. And then when you start to do the things that you love, it frees up so much more energy in you. It gives you more confidence. It gives you more joy. And you know how you are in that state. You're more free. You're more willing to try different things. You're more adventurous. You're funner. You're creating and connecting with people more. But you are a better person when you're experiencing joy in your life. Okay. And not to say there is a place for pressure. There is a place for anxiety. There is a place for anger and sadness. It's not to say that we don't want to experience any of those things ever again. We do. That's what makes the human experience. And there's let's be honest, there's no bigger catalyst than pain. Pain is a way bigger catalyst than love. That's just how we're conditioned as humans, right? So there is going to be a place for that. We don't want to bypass it altogether. But then in those moments where you are experiencing pain, when you are experiencing anxiety and stress and defeat, and you're feeling lost, those moments that you've banked up of experiencing joy and having people that can support you through it because you've been able to deposit into those relationships and cultivate them, those are the things that are going to help you get through those times with more love and clarity and support and get you back up on your feet, right? Like nothing replaces that. We're humans. We want to belong. That is the basic, that is the most, that's the biggest threat in our existence, is being outcasted from the tribe. Because if you go back to how many thousands of years ago when we were living in the bush, if you got ousted from the tribe, that essentially meant death, right? Because now you're up against the elements. Now you're up against whatever's living in those bushes, and you got to survive one-on-one with whatever bear or whatever is out there. But if you're in the tribe, you have a better chance of survival. So on a very biological DNA level, our biggest fear is being ousted from the crowd. So then that means the quality of our connections, the quality of our relationships are vital to our existence, are vital to our survival. So then why have we gotten to a point of now thinking that money and quote unquote success and accolades overrides that? It's so backwards from how we were designed on the basic human level. So wherever you're at now in your career, again, I'm not saying you have to give up your ambitions, but see if you're depositing into the thing that time and nature and God have told us for so long are key to our survival, which is connection and community and relationships. That was my thought process for today. And that all goes back to the fact that I had to ask myself if I earned the right to go spend a few days in the mountains with my boyfriend, the person who's probably going to be my life partner, the person who's going to take care of me when I'm old, and we're going to raise kids together, and who's going to be honestly the biggest like caveat in my success in my business anyways. Like, he is going to be my number one partner, my number one supporter. And I'm asking myself whether I can go and take time to build that relationship further. I'm trying to see if I've earned the right to do that. It's not even about him. I'm negotiating with myself on whether I'm worthy of time off. Right? Because I think it's going to counter my business growth, when really I'm actually building a relationship with someone who's also going to support my business growth. Because the more supported and loved and connected I feel with him, the bigger battery pack that gives me to go out and be who I need to be in the world, because I know I have him to support me. And this doesn't just apply to partners, by the way, guys. Like, if you're single, that's okay too. You have friends, you have family, and maybe some of those relationships are struggling right now. Maybe some of those are shifting because you're growing and they don't quite fit you the way they once did. The more honest you become with yourself, the more authentic you become with you, the more you say no to things that are out of alignment, the faster the universe can find those people who can support you in those ways into your life. Make the space, say no to what's out of alignment, and watch how fast the universe works to get them back into your life. So you don't have to earn your joy. You don't have to prove that you're worthy of having fun or prove you're worthy of having rest. Like, that's the most ridiculous thing. And if you've been living that way, you know it's not working. But that's a protection mechanism in the body. That's what your nervous system has been trained to believe. And so we need to retrain it. We need to rewire it to understand that rest days are growth days too. Rest means growth. Just like if you're working out, the muscle needs to rest in order for it to rebuild itself. Fun is growth, right? Experiencing joy, letting the body, like, you can't grow when you're in survival mode. Facts, biological facts. You can't grow when you're in survival. When you're having fun, when you're experiencing joy, when you're connecting and having hugs, now you can grow, because you're not in safety and survival. You're in balance, you're in regulation. Now you can grow. Now you can expand in a sustainable way, in a way that actually feels more in alignment and just feels better in your body, in your heart. Feels lighter, feels freer, feels all the things that us basic humans want to experience. So don't overcomplicate it. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to prove yourself. Just choose what's most important for you and go after that.